How has Common Core affected your teaching?
It hasn't.
By that, do you look at the guidelines and do you just not go by them? Do you feel that it
Well,
isn't for
I've
your
looked at
class?
the guidelines. I'm familiar with those guidelines and the Manchester School Standards. I've looked at the guidelines, but no one has yet told me which I should use for which class. No one has specified. I'm still using what they call scope and sequence, where they say, for instance, like in Algebra 1, they say you need to cover radicals, simplifying radicals, you need to solve equations with fractions, you need to do sign numbers. I'm still using the scope and sequence that was developed because both the Common Core standards and the Manchester School Standards are ridiculous. They make no sense at all.
Is it because how are they ridiculous?
All they simply did is they took every textbook and they took the index of every textbook, all of the topics that are in the Algebra 2 book, they took all the topics that are in the Advanced Math book, they took all the topics in Algebra 1 Geometry, and they listed all the topics. And then they gave a number to each of those topics, a code, a ridiculous code. If you'd like, I can give you some of the codes.
Are you supposed to, what do the codes mean? Are you just supposed to cover the codes?
I believe so, but nobody has told me yet to do that. No one has told me, but the codes are meaningless. They are, I carry them with me, I've gone through this. For instance, if you want to, this is the Manchester codes and the Common Core codes. If you look at, pick a topic that we're familiar with, okay, something like solving linear equations and inequalities, solving equations with one variable, okay? The Manchester code is MAS colon M colon HS colon EQ colon 2. That means nothing to me at all. The Common Core code for the same exact topic is CCSS colon A dash REI period 3. Again, it's equally ridiculous to me. What makes sense to me is simply teach the students how to solve linear equations or inequalities with one variable. That makes sense to me, it makes sense to my students, it makes sense to my parents, the parents of my students.
Yeah.
The codes make no sense to anyone. Now, if they're meaningful to someone else, if they want to come back and say, look, in Algebra 1, these are the particular topics, and they want to use the codes to come up with it, they can do that, but keep that to themselves. Just speak to me in English.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Well, I don't know if I really want to ask the question because it seems obvious. What is your opinion on Common Core?
Now, the concept was that they want to elevate the academic standards in the United States.
Yes.
I mean, and I understand that. But they've gone about it totally wrong. They've listed all, like I say, they spent a lot of time coming up with codes like this. They've had books publish them so that the codes are in them. They've wasted a lot of time and a lot of money. They should have just simply found better, determined what the topics are in English, and come up with a list of these are the topics we want you to teach in English. And then to improve it, teach teachers
So like
how
more
to
workshops?
better teach those topics. Yeah, how to have a workshop, how to teach those particular topics. If there's a different way, so another teacher gave me today, for instance, gave me a different way of teaching how to factor. And I can pull that out and show that to you. It was given to me just today. I got it right here. I keep these things. And it's a whole different methodology. And I looked at it. It has positive points, has negative points, but I haven't had a chance to really, go over it myself to find out how is it. For some students, it would be better. For other students, it's going to be more confusing.
Yeah.
But if there's a different way for different students, a different thought, I have no problem with that. We need to look at different ways and improve the way we deliver the education. How can we help you better as students? But don't give me a list of codes. That's just nonsense. Most of the people who decide this have had very little experience teaching. A lot of these are college professors or PhDs, but they've never been in a high school classroom. They don't know what they're talking about. I know I'm getting off track a little bit, but I watched the school board meeting the other night. They had the commissioner of education on there. She's never taught a day in her life in a public high school, middle school, or elementary school. She's off in La La Land. She really doesn't know what it is to teach a group of 30 kids. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Okay? And nowadays, and things have changed. Even things that people that have taught in the past. I know, like our administration, Mr. Adamakis and Mr. Perico, they were teachers in the past. How long ago? 25 years ago? The last time they taught, you weren't even born. It has changed since then in many ways. One example, cell phones. I've got some classes where it seems like if I stop and give them a minute of time to do whatever, it turns into an internet cafe. And they think by putting internet, last year they spent a lot of money putting network into the school. Does that help the kids? It actually hurts them. Now, I think you're an academic student. I don't think you're sitting there surfing during class.
No.
Are you emailing your buddies during class? A lot of students are doing that. We've made it easier for them to do that. We've actually hurt them academically by putting in internet access. But did they ever ask the teachers? Somebody with a bright idea, oh, we need to have internet. Internet's the answer to everything. It isn't the answer to everything. You have to have, my goal, my hope is to get my students to learn how to think. I know they can look up a math formula on the internet, they can Google it up, or come up with it, but do they know what it means, or how to apply it? That's the goal that I try to get across to the kids, my students, to be able to think, use their brain as a calculator.
And so the standards that you have said, that hasn't helped you to try and make your students think?
The Common Core standards?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Plus, we don't have any. They may come in and I would say we don't have any materials to even teach it. They give like I say, a textbook that you can't use. I mean, I've got textbooks over there, those Algebra 1 books. We got those 3 years ago. They've never been off the shelf. I can't use them. I can't give those to my Algebra 1 kids. They're useless. All they are is they're filled with useless. These pages don't even have writing on them.
And those are Common Core sheet books?
I think those may be the newest. I'm not sure. They may have come just before that. They may be Common Core. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. I haven't looked.
Okay.
It's not worth my time.
Yeah. Okay. One last question.
Sure.
Have you noticed a difference in the school, like in other teachers' classrooms, or just the school in general, since Common Core has been implemented?
No, because it hasn't been implemented. They talk about it, but it hasn't. Like I say, first of all, Manchester, we're not going Manchester standards, but they have not been implemented. They passed that a year ago. I still have seen nothing to say this is what we want you to do as a result of all the work that people put into it. And they put a lot of work into it. It was wasted time. It was wasted effort. Whoever decides to do that, I think, in my opinion, is an idiot. Doesn't know what's going on. And please, publish it. Send that to anybody you want. Put that. I don't care who you send that to. I feel that strongly about it. They don't know what the job is. And I know it's got nothing to do with this, but that's why I'm leaving. It's enough of this stupidity. That's what's driving. That bothers me. Because education is so important. You need to know how to use it, how to apply it, and they think by putting, no, to answer your question, I don't see anybody's changed. Nobody's changed anything, anywhere. And now they'll talk about competencies now. They want us to teach them the competency. or SLOs, here's the next buzzword you're gonna hear about, SLOs, student learning, what's the O stand for? Objectives, student learning objectives. You want me to write down today my objective will be to teach students how to solve equations that have logarithms in them. That's my objective. Do I need to write an essay on how I'm gonna do this? Or should I just do it? That's my point.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. I'm a math teacher. Had they had, years, I don't know if you went through everyday math, we probably exposed to some of that.
A little bit,
A little
yeah.
bit. When they had brought that into the elementary school, I spoke out about that. Had they had that when I was in school, I don't think I ever would have been a math teacher. It would have turned me off so much because it's something to the fact like explain why 3 times 4 is 12.
Yeah.
Because it is. Can we move on to the next question? It's absurdities like that. I know you can have 3 times 4 if you have a group of 4 3 times if you add them all up. It's like I'm not going to explain that. It's just
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm happy anybody who cares to listen. It's important. I mean, I've spoken to the school, but I've tried to. They give you 3 minutes. You guys have given me, 10 times the amount of time they've given me. It's important. And I left, like I say, the difference with me, I left worked as an engineer for 18 years. I taught and then worked as an engineer. Then I came back. I was gone 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, I found things very different. And not for the better, for the worse. I feel, I empathize with you guys. Your futures, there's a bright future out here, but we're not helping you get there. I mean, some of you are, yes, but for many of the students, all these things are just getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't find math teachers. Go online. There's a website, NewHampshireEdJobs.com. I went on there last night. I do it once in a while. Just type in the word math because you can do any subject. There's 39 math positions now.
Oh, wow. Just for the Manchester School District?
No, that's New Hampshire. It's New Hampshire.
Okay.
But for Manchester, there's at least 3 that they need here. In the paper, Nashua needs at least a couple for next year. I saw Salem. And you know how many they graduate per year in New Hampshire, math teachers? Less than, I believe it's probably, I don't think they graduate 12
Oh, really?
per year.
Yeah.
Because and the ones that go in, they go into math, but they don't go math education. They go off and they do something else where they can earn more money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big issue. If you're science, both math and science, if you look around, it's very difficult to find qualified math and science teachers. Because if you have a math skill, you'll go elsewhere. Even at the school board meeting, you'll hear them talk all the time. They'll say, oh, we need to get with a new STEAM program at West High School. Have you heard about that?
No.
STEAM program? Well, we need to work with this companies in the Milliard and get students trained because we need to get them so that they can get into those high-paying, high-skilled jobs. But I never have ever heard them say we need to train students and get them up to speed so that they become good teachers. They don't want to, that has never been said, I've never heard it.
Mm-hmm.
They want to train everybody so we can go out of teaching. Train them so they can be high-skilled somewhere else. What's wrong with a high-skilled teacher?
Mm-hmm.
I think where do the other high-skilled people going to come from?
Yeah.
And I've done both. So, how much battery do you have?
Okay, so now for the final quote.
Yeah. What's that?
Have a final quote.
Well, the final quote, you as individuals, don't give up. You need to just keep pushing forward. Don't hesitate to ask the questions. There is a bright future. It's America out here. You can soar as high as you want. Don't be limited. You can move. There's many opportunities, but we need to make a drastic change in education, and they need to stop listening to the politicians and the PhDs. They don't do it. Everyone should be required to teach. The superintendent of schools should be required to teach a class, a regular high school class. The principal should be required to teach a class, because then they'll really know what it's like. But they don't know. Last time he taught was 20 years ago or more. And they'll say, well, I was a teacher, I teach. It's different now. Okay? I mean, we get, the grading system is all messed up. It's chaos, chaos. And like I told you, I mentioned to these guys, I wrote the a computer program that did what Aspen does 30 years ago. It operated, they use it to operate the Massachusetts community colleges.
The one that you wrote?
The one I wrote. That's who hired us. They hired us, the Massachusetts Education Board, a company I worked for. It did report cards, it did transcripts, it did all of that. Same thing as Aspen. It wasn't internet-based, it didn't have internet. They get this system now that is just bizarre. Bizarre. Has no value. Sorry, I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. No one's gonna listen to that. Except you.